Joining us right now for the next hour is Senator Pat Toomey. He is a member of the Banking, Commerce, and Joint Economic Committees. And Senator, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Becky.
We were just talking around the table about your questioning last week of Bernanke and how we had guests who came on and said that you were by far the senator who most understood and appreciated what was going on. We've been talking also about LIBOR and what happened there. Geithner's going to be going to the Hill on Wednesday. What do you think happened with LIBOR? What needs to be done?
Well, I think we don't know yet, right, what really happened, except that we do know what happened with respect to Barclays, at least. We knew that they were routinely misrepresenting the numbers. In some instances, it appears they wanted to lower the setting that applied to them, the number that they reported, out of a concern that otherwise it would appear as though maybe the market didn't have confidence in Barclays. In other cases, they were doing it as a way to try to help out their own trading book, right, where there are other guys in the firm suggesting a lower or a higher rate would help them. So a stunning corruption here in how this was done.
For a key number. I mean, LIBOR, during the financial crisis, this was the number that we had people like Alan Greenspan telling us that they were watching first.
And not only that, of course, this drives thousands and thousands of American financial transactions every day.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah, mortgages get reset based on this, commercial loans, consumer loans. I mean, so much gets driven by this. What's stunning to me is that the Fed and the Treasury have known that this process lacked integrity since at least April of 2008. That's more than 4 years ago. Where have they been?
So, Senator, the question then becomes, what should have they done? Bernanke will say it wasn't his responsibility, that they forwarded their comments, suggestions to the UK, and that the UK did not take any steps to fix it. Should have they come out publicly? What would have that done to the markets? There's some real issues sort of behind the scenes as to, depending on where you sit, what your responsibilities were and also what options you had at the time.
Well, and the folks at Barclays have gone so far, some have gone so far as to suggest that maybe some of the British regulators actually were complicit in this because they didn't want to create a scare. Okay, I understand that we were under very unusual... And
I'm not defending them, I'm just putting the question to you.
But look, those circumstances have long since changed, right? Late 2008, okay, very extraordinary, very worrisome circumstances. It's 4.5 years later. And to the question of what should they have done, I think they absolutely should have raised a red flag. The city of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania entered into a big interest rate swap. Where they paid a fixed rate and they received periodic LIBOR payments. Did they get the payments they should have gotten? Shouldn't they have known that there was a problem? Shouldn't the big financial institutions that use this index all the time, shouldn't they have forced the BBA to change their methodology or developed an alternative?
Okay, different way to look at it. We now understand that some traders may get arrested perhaps as early as this week.
Right.
Is it better or worse that regulators may have known about it for them? Meaning, do you consider it criminal if, in fact, the regulators were complicit?
Well, presumably that's going to be an argument in their defense, right? If the regulators were encouraging them to do this, but that's a huge problem for our financial system. If our regulators were involved in actually encouraging the misreporting of a fundamental index like this. Now, I don't think we have any evidence of that yet, but we do know that they were aware of it, and they didn't even talk about it, much less correct the problem. They didn't even alert and warn the American businesses and consumers who are using these rates that, hey, there might be something wrong with this rate.
You know, Senator, to me, it raises a larger question about whether or not Americans can have confidence in Wall Street and in our financial system. I mean, when you see something as basic as LIBOR, where trillions of dollars of products are set off of it, people look around and they don't have confidence because of what happened in 2008. They don't have confidence because of the flash crash.
Right.
You hear scandal after scandal that comes up, and at some point the average investor has to say, wait a second, how do I get a fair shake in this?
And I think it is a devastating blow to confidence, no question about it. But that's all the more reason why as soon as you discover something like this, you got to correct it right away. Figure out what went wrong, what are the magnitude of the implications, and correct it. And when you allow this to linger for years, I think it further undermines confidence.
So what would you like to have asked of Timothy Geithner when he goes before Congress this week?
Well, I think I'm going to ask him, you know, what was he aware of? What was the follow-up after this memo that was shot over to the BBA suggesting a range of alternatives, a couple of which apparently were adopted, most of which were not? What was the next step? What were they doing? What, did they not have conversations with the financial institutions that use this index all the time to say, hey, guys, there's a problem with the integrity of this rate setting. You shouldn't maybe
Base everything off of it?
Base everything you do off of it on an ongoing basis. Did that conversation happen? With whom? And what was done about that? What was done to inform American consumers and borrowers and businesses and others that they may not be getting or making the payments that they're supposed to? I find it stunning that the Secretary of the Treasury was aware of this in early 2008, and it takes 2012 before anything is really happening.
Okay, Senator Toomey is going to be with us for the rest of the hour. We have a lot more